To talk more about human smuggling at the border now, we are bringing back in Lieutenant Chris Oliverez with the Texas Department of Public Safety. It is good to see you again, Chris, on this. And I want to ask you about the specific cartel stash house, the torture that took place there. And it was two who actually escaped who told Border Patrol that the only reason they were let go is that the cartel demanded even more money from their families. Chris, how common is this? And what does this tell us about how desperate migrants are to enter this country?
Well, good evening, Natasha. Of course, this is a very common issue that many migrants face, especially when they're being exploited by the cartels. And many untold stories that many people are not aware of because some of these stories are not told. And as you mentioned, those two migrants were able to escape and actually report this to the authorities, and that's how you're able to bring this story to light. So many of these untold stories are actually taking place every single day. They've been taking place for the last 3+ years and continue to do so today. And it's because of the fact that the Mexican cartels continue to exploit illegal immigration. They continue to exploit the fact that they're going to profit off of illegal immigrants to move them across the border into the United States. And even though illegal border crossings are down across the border, the fact of the matter is that the Mexican cartels will adapt to those changes. They will adapt to any policies, any changes whatsoever that law enforcement makes. They're going to adapt to those changes so they can continue to smuggle people across that border, whether it be adults or children. They're going to find a way to continue to exploit migrants and also to make profit off of them, because right now it is a multi-billion-dollar industry to smuggle people across that border, and they've been able to expand. The cartels have been able to expand their criminal network throughout the United States.
Can you explain for our viewers why a migrant would risk paying a cartel to smuggle them into the U.S. as opposed to just attempting this journey on their own?
Well, I mean, it could be many reasons. I mean, some may have fear that if they do cross the border, they're going to be deported, or they may feel like they can't turn themselves in because, again, the fear of deportation. So they pay a cartel. They pay somebody from Mexico to get them across the border, to smuggle them across the border further into the States. And in some cases, the cartels are going to demand more money from those families or whoever's paying that fee. They're going to demand more money. And if they can't pay it, now you see some of these cases now where these migrants are being abused, they're being exploited, or being forced into labor or sex trafficking, including children. That's why it's so critical when we talk about human smuggling. It's a much bigger aspect than just what we see people being smuggled in cars. It's what happens when these people are being exploited and being stashed, in stash houses in Mexico as they wait to get across the border until the cartels receive some type of payment. That's why it's so critical. It makes it so much more dangerous, for migrants to be smuggled across the border as opposed to going to the legal pathways, going to a port of entry where it's much more safe, much more humane, and they can avoid any type of criminal organizations.
I want to ask you quickly about what Jorge Ventura was just talking about. The Sinaloa cartel and its biggest rival battling it out in a bit of a turf war, fighting over Hawaii, specifically Oahu, these direct pipelines through California, through Nevada, and these smugglers taking the drugs, putting it on their bodies, getting through on commercial flights. First of all, is there a clear TSA failure that you're seeing here, since this is the primary way they're getting the drugs into Oahu? And also, why are the cartels so zeroing in on Hawaii? Is it the lack of oversight and the fact that they can charge so much more for fentanyl than on the mainland?
Well, I think about some good points there, especially, Jorge had a real good report on just what's taking place there in Hawaii and how the cartels, the two most powerful cartels, the Sinaloa and the Jalisco New Generation cartel, they're the most powerful cartels right now. They are the ones that are mass producing fentanyl across the United States. And also because of the fact now they're fighting each other over smuggling routes. And of course, Hawaii now has been very profitable because they can actually increase the price per pill as opposed to smuggling pills in the United States. And of course, Jorge brought up a real good point, the lack of law enforcement, the lack of resources. The more drugs that are being seized at the border, I mean, of course, we know law enforcement is doing a great job, and both local, state, and federal. But the fact of the matter is these cartels are able to mass produce more of this deadly poison across the border now in Hawaii because it's all for profit. And they're able to gain more profit by increasing the prices of these pills. So it makes it very challenging on both sides, law enforcement and also those that are trying to apprehend and seize these drugs that are coming across the borders and make it into the States.
Lieutenant Chris Oliverez, always appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.